On today's episode, I interview Chaz. He is the co-founder of LIV Watches. Now, if you don't know LIV Watches, they are an amazing Swiss watch brand. They're made in Switzerland. Materials are sourced in Switzerland and across the world. They're actually Swiss made. They're a micro brand. They have been through 4 Kickstarter campaigns, 3 of which were 7 figures raised. And they're about to even kickstart another crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter. And on today's episode, Chaz actually explains how they run their Kickstarter campaigns to that level of success, as well as how they get an insane 40% repeat customer rate after Kickstarter. He says it's down to establishing really deep connections with customers. It's a great episode if you're looking to learn from a direct-to-consumer business in the luxury space, just insanely killing it from a repeat customer rate and just creating raving fans. You don't want to miss this episode. Do stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome to the 2X e-commerce podcast show. I'm your host, Kunle Campbell, and this is the podcast dedicated to rapid growth in online retail. So if you're looking to grow metrics such as conversions, average order value, repeat customers, traffic, and ultimately sales, I try my best with the content here and the guests I bring on the show to help you take you to specific goals or targets you're looking to hit with your online stores. Now, on today's episode, when the opportunity to interview this guy came to me, I was like, I'm just going to go for it, and that's because I was this close to being a customer, and I absolutely loved their marketing. It was just spot on. The imagery, the aspiration sold to me, especially on Instagram, because I picked up a lot. I'm actually a follower on Instagram. I've been following this brand on Instagram for probably 2 years, if not more, just because everything was just perfect, pixel perfect. And I didn't even realize that they had launched their business through a Kickstarter campaign, which is quite fascinating. And they've done they've done a total of 4 Kickstarters, all of them successful. And it's just incredible to have the opportunity to not only talk with one of the founders of this the husband and wife team, founder team, but also to share this conversation with you guys, my listeners. Now, the name of this brand is called LIV Watches, LIV Watches. So some of you may have come across them. I think they have about 250,000 Facebook likes on their page. And I'm interviewing the husband, part of the tag team here, and his name is Chaz. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Chaz to the show. Welcome, Chaz.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Before we kick off today's show, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Did you know that cloud-hosted e-commerce platforms like Shopify and BigCommerce do not provide automatic backups? Rewind steps in to protect Shopify and BigCommerce stores with automatic backups. Rewind is trusted by over 25,000 stores. Install Rewind and get to test it for free over 7 days. And to extend the 7-day trial to 30 days, head over to rewind.io, their website, and mention 2X e-commerce. Okay, fantastic.
Kunle, right?
Yeah, Kunle, yeah. You're dialing in from Florida, I believe, from Florida.
Yeah, we're from Miami. Sunny Miami, quite hot right now this time of the year.
I can imagine, it's a very entrepreneurial place, especially with direct to consumer. I think the only other city and state that really, comes close would be San Diego. I think San Diego is quite hot right now in the e-commerce space. And then in the e-commerce tech space, you have Boston. They're doing a lot of, interesting stuff in the States. But I digress. I probably haven't done you sufficient justice in introduction. Would you mind taking?
Oh, I think you did great.
Oh, thank you. Would you mind taking a minute or maybe even two to introduce yourself and how you and your wife actually Esti, came together to bring LIV Watches to life?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, first of all, I'm a watch freak. So since I was a child, I remember the first watch I got. My brother went to Switzerland and brought me back one of those Swatch watches. And if I would have held on to that, I would have been able to trade that in, because that was like one of the originals, one of the first. So I remember that plastic it came in. I think
Yeah.
I was about 10, 11 years old, and I got the watch and I felt like $1 million. And since then, I have always worn a analog watch. I actually went for a little while. I went to some of the data banks. I don't know if you remember those Casio data banks.
Yep.
I don't know what the age bracket you're in, but I remember those data bank watches, and we went from that. But I always had a analog watch, and when I went to mechanical watches, I just became completely obsessed. And so from a child, I've been obsessed with it. So yeah. So when I came out of high school, I started going to college, and then I was like debating what I should do. I was actually here in Miami, and I had randomly ran into a family who owned a Swiss watch company, and I automatically made a good connection with these people, and I was like dying to be involved with what they were doing. So I basically just dropped out. I basically dropped out of school, and I hooked up with this wonderful family who I'm still friends with till today. And I got my first job packing watches. So
Wow.
yes, I literally, all I wanted to do was be around watches. I didn't care what it was. I would have swept the floors if I had to.
Mm.
So I got a job there. I quickly went from packing to fulfillment to I went to sales. There was a sales girl who had left the company, and there was a position. So they said, okay, we don't want you to do anything except just go and service the accounts. Don't sell them anything. Just be the face of the brand. And so I did sales. I did sales for 2 years. Then I ended up, working as a full-time salesperson. I traveled the country. I went from store to store, and then eventually I moved into production. So they took me from sales. I did production. Unfortunately, the company went out of business. So, after that, I still had a lot of connections within the watch industry, and I basically just started buying and selling and trading watches. And I did that for about, 4 or 5 years. And then in 2000, I decided to launch an e-commerce website for selling watches online. We were one of the first to do it. And so we launched the e-commerce, and I ran that for about 10 years. And in 2010, I just got sick of it because Amazon had come on board, a lot of competition had come in. And I had, I kind of felt that I was, it was just like, basically I felt like I was just a messenger, like, taking, buying stuff, selling stuff. There was a lot of like, how do you get the merchandise? Could you get the merchandise? It was a lot of competition, a lot of issues, just not enough in there. And I started getting a little tired of it. I love the e-commerce side. I love the tech side. I love the, the selling side online, but I just didn't like the actual, buying from these brands and reselling their stuff. So, in 2010, I started already, thinking about, ideas of what I was going to do. And interestingly enough, the same family who had given me a job when I had just come out of school, they relaunched a new brand. They're amazing. They relaunched a new brand, and they decided that they were going to launch a smaller brand that would be strictly online, or would be focused a lot online, more like younger, hip. And they asked me, he said, you're really good with the e-commerce stuff. Could you help us launch this brand? And that was my first thinking process about launching a brand online. I was working with the company. We started dealing with branding. We started dealing with a lot of the pieces. I was good with the manufacturing side because I had done production. I had the e-commerce, but I needed to understand branding and what that meant. And this one situation, or you call it, really gave me an understanding of branding. I was dealing with a lot of people who understood branding and what it takes to build a brand and stuff like that. So I did that for about 2 years with this company, and then they eventually just took it over. And then during this time, I got married in 2009, and my wife, who's very talented individual, both from from an organizational standpoint. She's really structured. She knows how to get things done. You know, I find myself more the creative side. She's more like the very structured, like she's really organizes stuff, and she really makes things happen. Like she pushes things through. You know, she's like one of those people you just like say, okay, here's the idea, and just make it happen. And we just started talking. I'm like, listen, you know, we can do this, you know, and I started like looking for like, okay, you know, let's look at the marketplace. Let's look at what's going on. And we started looking at the, you know, the watch industry and where things were going, where the brands were positioning. And don't forget, I had sold all those brands online. I knew what sold, what didn't sell. I did the branding side. I did the production side. So I had a lot of the pieces. I happened to be lucky that I had a lot of those pieces to come together. And then with my wife's organization, I was able to take some of my wacky ideas and actually make them happen. So, you know, we started thinking about, you know, I said, I want to do a watch. I want to do a man's watch. I want to do a watch that's at a certain price point. I want to do it at the quality level X. And I want to do all these different things that we wanted to do. And I mean, I don't know if this is becoming the longest answer you've ever had for a question.
No. Yeah, it's interesting. Go for it. It's fascinating. I'm writing notes also. So.
Okay. So then, you know, we said, okay, we have the concept, we have the brand, we have the concept, a very, very rough concept of what we're going to do. Like, what do we need? What are the pieces that we need? So I'm not a designer. Okay. I know the technical aspects. I have a good eye for design, but I'm not the kind of person that's going to be able to sit and actually, you know, sketch out or do any of that stuff. That's just not me. And we decided from day one that no matter what we're going to do everything the opposite of what traditional way is going to be doing things. So, you know, we're going to be, number one, we're going to be online only. Okay. We're not going to stores. Okay. Number two, the designs that we're going to do, we're not going to hire a designer. We're going to crowdsource our design. Okay. We're going to get the design community to help us make this product. And that's what we did. So we had the design challenge that we ran. And
where did you run the design challenge?
We built our own platform.
Well,
we literally, yes. So we built our own platform. It wasn't that difficult to do. We built it like in WordPress, you know.
Okay.
But we built like, you know, it was basically had like a Q&A section, like a private section where designers can come in and have a Q&A section. But I'll explain you how we did it. So basically, Esti, she went out and she spent literally 3 months harvesting designers from all over the world. I'm talking about from all over the world, like from Jamaica, Japan, Norway. We had 200 designers enter into this challenge, and we created a design brief. We said, okay, here's the concept of what we want to do. Here's the movement that we gave them. Obviously, we gave them some technical aspects of what they need to get done. And 200 designers. From 200 designers, we ended up with 100 designers actually completing the challenge. And from those 100 designers, we actually had to increase the winners from 3 winners to 6 winners because we had so many amazing designs. In fact, till today, we're working with these designers, these same original designers from 8 years ago, 9 years ago. We're still working with them to further develop our collections and create new collections.
So what was the reward? The 6?
So yeah, so we had the winner was a $5,000 cash reward. Number 2 was like a $3,000 cash reward plus like a Wacom tablets. We gave away a lot of stuff. But, you know, for a designer, you know, we were thinking, you know, we'll hire a designer. If I hire a designer, I have to pay that designer. I get one design, right? I don't get options. Okay. No. And it's going to take up a lot of my time, even though the challenge took a lot of time to do it. Again, it gave us a really wide spectrum range of ideas. And we gave, you know, we had Q&A sessions. We had, you know, back and forth, like we published all the questions that other designers had. People sent us drafts. Like it was fully engaged 6 months of work, but it was just 6 months of work. And we knew that we were going to get something. And the minute I saw the first watch, I knew we had a winner. Like I saw it. I said, this is a winner.
This is like 99 Designs GX1. That's your first one, yeah?
Yeah, this happened actually in 2013, 2014.
2013, 14.
Yeah.
So is the GX1 the Genesis X1?
Yeah. So the basis of the brand's first collection came from the GX1, the one that you like, is our original. And believe it or not, till today, it's our bestseller.
Yeah.
So we've come out with the Rebel collection. We have a P51, which is a more high-end titanium, but still that first watch that was the winner of that challenge is still the core of our business till today.
It's a black one with the orange detail around.
Exactly. That was the first watch, black with the orange detail.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. Okay, there's a lot to unpick from your experience, from what you just said. I'll go back to your quitting, your job, and then, working with this company. I guess this company was a traditional watch company, and they were pretty much reliant on retail distribution. Is that correct?
Yeah. So they were strictly focused on retails. They had distributors in other countries. They went to Basel, which is our like the mecca of all the watch industry, where they get together. All distributors come from all over the world. Anything you could think of, from the Philippines to Japan to China, all those distributors would come there, and then they were really running it like in the traditional way. And to me, I thought, because I had done e-commerce for 10 years and I saw the way the new consumer was going, and once the smartphone started taking off, and started becoming like a real viable way of purchasing. And once we realized that Instagram, and once Facebook's ads platform, once they opened up, that was it. I said, stores are dead. Yeah. And the faster the brands realize it and they change their model, the faster they'll be able to change. I mean, they'll be able to survive.
100%.
And if you see with Corona now, you see what's happening now. Yeah. I mean, you see Corona's bringing it to the forefront, And I hate to look like a genius that I came up with this idea in 2010 that we need to go online only and forget the stores. But in reality, I mean, it's a terrible thing what's happening to the world now. But you see who's surviving, who's not surviving. Those who are focused online and they run their online are doing really, really well. And the ones that are just focused on the retail with the walk-in shops, even if it is a concept store, they're suffering.
Yeah, the imbalance is so severe that the UK government wants to introduce an online retail tax, which I feel is retrogressive. It's ridiculous, but that imbalance in terms of the winners and the gainers over the past 4 months is as clear as night and day. It's pure play e-commerce is really one of the beneficiaries of all of this. Okay, so you launched a watch brand between 2000 and 2010. You shut it down due to the proliferation of, or the dominance more or less, of Amazon. What was it like, between 2000 and 2010, running a watch brand? Was it on a platform, was it direct to consumer? Was it marketplace selling? And how did you sort of establish a brand presence? Watch, as you said, watches are not necessarily a need, they're a want. So how did you sort of, how did you sell between 2000? What were the major learnings for that decade?
Right. So the brand actually launched in 2014, 2015.
Okay.
From 2000 to 2010, my focus was e-commerce.
Okay.
When we originally started, selling watches online, I was selling all the brands you could think of. I was selling them all online. Okay. I was not selling my own brand. I was selling other brands.
Okay.
When we first got into it, Amazon was just doing books. Okay. In fact, when Amazon called us at one point and said to us, "Hey, we're opening up our platform to allow other vendors to come and sell their products," I laughed at them, like, "You guys sell books. I sell watches. What are you talking about?" Like, But that's the idea. The idea was that I did not realize what their play was until much further on down the line, where I realized what they were doing. That they were basically they were getting all these vendors to come in. They were using a lot of technology, ease of use, the fast shipping. I mean, actually, the fast shipping came later, but they weren't a dominant player from earlier on. But I did see what they were doing, and what was interesting was that I always had the discussion. I said that, this is like the elephant in the room. That's really, nobody realizes everybody's making money now with them, but eventually they're going to eat everybody up because they're just too big. They're just too big.
Yeah.
We can get it to Amazon because we sell on Amazon, but it's not a mainstay for us because, you know, it doesn't fit the brand's DNA. It's not the style. Again, we're not selling a commodity product. We're just selling a want product. And,
Okay.
you know, we want to own, you don't use the word own, but we want to create those connections. We can get into that, but with Amazon, you don't have that. You just become a commodity.
It's its own marketing really. And they strip it from you, from email address, customer name, you know, all that to stripped off.
Exactly. And for us, we know we're not looking to make the sale. For us, I mean, at LIV, I mean, the concept was, and that's why we went to Kickstarter, was to actually build a brand together with the people that love that love watches. Okay,
fantastic. So now that you'd got this 6 designs, you'd seen GX, the GX1 was your major winner. How did you launch it to Kickstarter in 2014? I think that Kickstarter campaign raised about $200K, which is the lowest as compared to all the other Kickstarters you've done. So you started out in Kickstarter in 2014. Could you just detail the journey, what you did right and what you did wrong in 2014? Yeah.
So I don't know if we did anything right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think the idea for us of going to Kickstarter wasn't just about let's say raising money. And I think that's a misconception, I think, for us at least. You know, when you have something that you want to launch to the world, you're trying to say to yourself, okay, how can I launch it to the world? Okay, how can I introduce this brand new item to the world? Like, where's my launch party? You know, I'm not going to rent space at a bar and invite all my friends and say, I'm launching a product. You know, it doesn't really do anything. Mm-hmm. So we looked at Kickstarter as sort of our, you know, we are introducing LIV to the world using the Kickstarter platform. Mm-hmm. What I liked about Kickstarter was that from a brand's perspective and from a product perspective, you're forced to clearly define who you are, what you stand for, why people should invest in your product. And I think even if you don't need the money, I would highly recommend that you force yourself.
Oh yeah, no, go for it. I'm just sharing this for the YouTube channel. I'm just sharing the watch.
Got it. I was looking at the screen. The screen just went, whoa. Yeah. So I think it was really important for us to kind of define who we are, what we stand for, why do we deserve to exist, why should people invest their hard-earned money into a product, why should they wait for the product, you know, and I think that's really, really important for anybody that's going to create a brand new brand. You have to clearly define, okay, listen, the business plans are great because, you know, you need to have some defining, but to the average person in the world, like, okay, if you want a business plan because you want to raise money from an investor or from a bank or wherever it is, you need that. That's fine. Yeah. But if you have to, let's say, talk to the person and say, hi, my name is Chaz. I'm a watch freak. I love watches. And this is what I've created. You need to be able to do that. And I think Kickstarter forces you to go out there and do that. Yeah. And that's why I felt Kickstarter was a great platform for that. On top of that, because the brand's idea and DNA was about creating connections and creating these strong bonds between the people that buy our products, it was important that they be involved from day one. And what greater platform than to go to Kickstarter where people are involved from day one, where you're just looking at a sample. They're looking at a sample. There's no product yet. Yeah. And their work and besides for them feeling the connection, we gain a lot from that because we got the feedback that brands could never get. Like, hey, I don't like the way you're doing this. You need to change that, da, da, da. And this is like golden nuggets just sitting on the street, ready to be picked up. And by creating these connections, we're getting that feedback. Until today, a lot of our products, relaunches of our products, is all based on, I would say, 90% of those changes that we do to the product and upgrades that we do to the product is based on those feedback that we get from the people that wear and love our watches. And we only get that feedback because they feel comfortable sending an email to Chaz or Esti saying, hey, I love your watches, but you need to do this, you need to do that. Like, there are companies out there that spend millions of dollars trying to get people to give them that kind of information. They run these quizzes and they run whatever they can. But in our sense, because we have those strong connections, we get them for free.
I'm spotting a trend here, which is the ability to use the wisdom of the crowd, both at the back end, which is product design, and the front end, which is, just getting product market fit and validation, as well as feedback. And that's how you're running the business. Is that correct? Or am I missing something else?
Yeah, you're spot on.
Okay.
You're really, really spot on.
Yes. So what were the steps? So strategically, you've answered that question excellently. Now, tactically, in your first campaign, this is 2014, Kickstarter works slightly different today. Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Klaviyo is a growth marketing platform that powers over 25,000 online businesses. Klaviyo understands every single customer interaction and empowers brands to create more personalized marketing moments. Listen, analyze, and act on your customer data with Klaviyo. Visit klaviyo.com/2x. In terms of dynamics, or raising funds and actually launching a brand, I do understand that the market is the market. But what were the steps you took to setting everything up in Kickstarter to make it a success? What would you say to that?
Yeah, so I think, the first Kickstarter, to be honest with you, like we knew that we had to sort of, like I said, define who we are, why our product is amazing, why people should invest in us, why should people be not just money invested, but emotionally invested. But we didn't know a lot. We knew that it was the right platform. We did not hire an agency, which is what, now it's turned into a massive platform where there's agencies that specifically focus on Kickstarter campaigns. We did not hire an agency. All we did was we said, okay, we did some research. We looked at, keeping in mind that back in 2015, Kickstarter was sort of like an up and coming thing. Like it wasn't as commercialized. It wasn't as well known as it is today. It was like sort of like a sort of niche-y, like people like, oh wow, it was like the start of the GoFundMe's and all those kind of campaign style platforms. And we did some research. We looked at some other pages. We looked at successful projects, what they did, how they outlined their pages, what was their video, like what did the video contain? Like what was the intro? Like, how did they capture the audience? Like what did we, but again, we didn't really fully understand, everything. Like we were still feeling our way around. Like we didn't have all the pieces, like for example, our goal was to hit $30,000 within the first couple days, right? That was our goal. Our goal is to try to, because we knew that we had to in order to get traction, we knew that there had to be some buzz. And you can't get buzz when your campaign's like hovering at $5,000. Like you need to get to like $30,000. So we literally sent emails to all our friends and families, literally. Their first $30,000 was literally friends and family. Some of them were like, Chaz, you're out of your mind. I'm just going to say that I did it, just so, but most literally, like we got a lot of like weird faces when we told people what we're doing. They're like, what? Some were a little more brutally honest than others, but to be honest with you, like I didn't have any doubt. And I think it's important. I would tell any entrepreneur, anybody that's going to create their own product, you should have little doubt, because little doubt is important, or else you just, but if you really believe in what you're doing, I would not take any advice from anybody except for somebody who's actually done what you're planning on doing.
Exactly.
So like I would not ask a school teacher if I should launch a brand.
No,
I would not. Yeah. So, but we had great friends and family, and they did help us out. I think a lot of them thought it was charity.
Yeah, fair enough. And I spotted a pattern here. We had the founder of another brand called Unbound Merino come onto the show. They do like cashmere t-shirts for men, and they're quite high end. And they launched their brand via Kickstarter. And he said, "Look, man, via Indiegogo. And if they didn't hit the traction they were meant to hit, which was I think about $20,000 within the first 3 days, they were not going to get featured or any other thing like that. So they had to get family and friends." And he said he just picked up an email address. He picked up like 200 people. He did videos basically to 200 of his friends and family on Facebook, and just explained how they needed to support, their Indiegogo campaign, and that just gave them the propulsion they needed to at least get it in the faces of more people. And when they hit that threshold, they just started to notice, they couldn't recognize the names again of their backers, and they knew they had traction. So it is something you have to do. And I really wanted to ask you that question so that listeners understand that, what it takes to get something off the ground, especially a brand new brand. No one knows a brand new brand. Yeah. No one knows on a crowdfunding platform. So thank you for sharing that. It's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and also like, for example, we knew that if we wanted to go to the press, like none of the press would listen to us unless we had a substantial amount of money. We were able to have like they all want headlines. They all want to say new Swiss watch, raises $30,000 in 48 hours.
Yep. Yeah.
You can't say, new Swiss watch, raises $10,000 in 6 days.
You've got to give them the story. You've got to give them the story.
They want to write. They're looking for content, but they have to be able to wow their readership.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the original the first Kickstarter campaign, the inaugural one, and the page is amazing. I'm sharing it if you're on the YouTube channel. This is just freaking well laid out. Black, it's very well on brand. The video is really nice. And then your rewards. Let's talk about your rewards. You cycling shirts. Was there why, how, why, is this, could you explain why cycling shirts were part of a reward? So you had a $25 one, which is just a cycling shirt. So if you support it with $25, you get a cycling shirt, or jersey rather, cycling tee, LIV tee, cycling jersey, a cycling kit. To any of you into cycling, or did you spot a niche in terms of cyclists are more likely to wear LIV watches? I don't get it.
Okay, I'll explain to you. First of all, my second passion is cycling.
Okay, all right.
So I have two passions, besides for my kids and my family, obviously, is watches and cycling. And the reason why we did that is because I have a lot of cycling friends. And a lot of them were not into watches. They wouldn't want to buy watches. But my goal was not only to get to $30,000, but to get a certain amount of backers. So I was like, guys, just buy a t-shirt. I don't care what you buy, buy a cycling kit, just buy something, because I need the backer number to be high. So that's what it was all about. It was really just about if you asked me today, obviously I would never do that. But at that point, I was just trying to figure out, how do I get more backers? Some people are not going to spend. Listen, it's not a cheap product, and it's a well-made, expensive product. Not every one of my friends and family are going to spend, $400. Some of them might want to spend $25. So all my cycling friends bought they bought my cycling shirts and my cycling t-shirts, and that just raised the amount of backer numbers.
And you could use the watches for scuba diving, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't suggest. We did 1,000 water resistance, only because we were looking for like selling points. 1,000 water resistance, screw down crown. I mean, it's a little bit overly built, this watch, but we were looking for pointers of what we could do. Yeah, I mean, looking back at this page, because I haven't seen this page honestly in like 5 years. Looking back at this page, I mean, obviously, I appreciate the compliment, but to be honest with you, like we've come such a long way.
You've come such a long way. We'll look at the other pages anyway. Okay. Not to embarrass you, but it still looks good. What about the press? Were you proactive with press coverage, or did that just come naturally?
Yeah, we were proactive. So Esti was really the one that was handling a lot of the press. Like she was just hounding them, like sending them, like, she's literally like that. You just literally, like I said before, you give her a task, and I'm really lucky that I have, everybody needs to have their skill stack, but there's a limit to what one person could do. And if we would hire an agency, I never liked the word agency anyways, because I always felt like agencies were just, I'm not bragging on agencies in general, but I'm just saying, like, agencies, like, they're looking for clients, it's a numbers game for them. And I'm looking for more of the, I would say, personal kind of thing. And you lose that, you know, once you're an agency, within an agency for a year, you lose that. But anyway, so she was the one that was focusing strictly on the press. Again, we were lucky because we were working with this other brand that we launched that product for them online, that we had a lot of those connections with press because they were telling us where to connect to the press.
Okay.
Like they were giving us a lot of the list. But, you know, all we did was, for the most part, we just went online and we started looking for like, okay, who's talking about watches? Like what websites are talking about watches? We went on to, you know, Reddit, or we went into all these different platforms to try to figure who's talking about watches, you know, where are people linking and stuff like that. And then we just came up with a list. And then we found, if you go onto any website, any big watch blog, and you could see like, sometimes they have authors, sometimes they have guest authors. And we just started personally contacting them, say, hey, I'm going to send you a watch. You know, can you review the watch, take a look at it? And, you know, I had a great product, so I felt totally confident, you know, sending watches to people. And again, you know, once we hit that $30,000 and we had a nice number of backers, it was a lot easier to talk to these people. They were interested in looking for the story, and we were able to get some press. We spent zero on advertising.
Interesting. So no Facebook promotion, nothing.
We didn't spend any money on Facebook ads the first campaign.
Okay.
And it was 100% organic. The only thing we did was we got a direct message from this guy who's running one of these watch influencers, Instagram watch influencers. And he's like, hey, if you give me $500, I'll post. I have like 2 million followers. And Esti says to me, what do you think we should do? I was like, it's $500. First, it was a lot of money for us. Yeah. You know, we were working on a tight budget. And he's like, listen, I promise you're going to get sales from it. And we gave him $500. He posted. And I think it was like somewhere between $10,000 to $15,000 attribution for that $500.
Not bad at all. Not bad at
all.
No,
not bad at all. I mean, since then it's over, but I'm saying influencers are over because of Facebook. You know, once Facebook launched they integrated Instagram into their advertising platform, that went bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay. So super interesting. You hit your target. Do you mind me asking what the total sort of capital outlay was for Project One on Kickstarter?
So we spent roughly around, for the Kickstarter campaign itself, I think we spent somewhere around $10,000.
It's not bad, with a lot of passion. See where that took you.
Yes. So amazing. we spent $10,000, but we had a lot of upfront cost as far as the product is perspective. Like for example, you have to pay tooling fees. To get, let's say for example, our straps, we had to spend $5,000 just to get the strap tooling. So we spent on the product itself. We probably spent another $20,000. So we're probably out somewhere around $30,000.
What about the designers? Did you not pay the designers?
Yeah. So like $5,000 for the designers. I'm just saying we had out probably about another $20,000 that was out on credit cards or whatever.
So like a $50K spend all in. In full
yeah, a little less than that.
Okay. All right. And then, you've launched 4 successful Kickstarter campaigns. Have you ventured into other platforms like Indiegogo? Has it been strictly Kickstarter? And why Kickstarter? Why the choice for Kickstarter?
Yeah. So the first time when the first campaign that we ran strictly on Kickstarter. When Kickstarter was over, we're like, okay, we got the $200,000 or close to it. And then we started working on the production, like actually making things happen. We were kind of limited, like we couldn't really do anything because I mean, $200,000 is money, but again, the product was really expensive. Like it was overly built. Like our main focus was to make sure that the product was so good. And what we didn't want, we knew that, if we want to be online, reputation is going to be super important. Yeah. We got to make sure that the reviews are like kick ass and that people are going to be super happy with the product that they get. So we spent a lot of money on product. So the first 3-4 months, we were just, right after the campaign was over, we were focusing on getting the product. We got to get it on time. We got to get it back, because we wanted to make sure, that we could go back on the Kickstarter. So we really focused everything on the product. And then, once we had the campaign and we had reached $200,000 or close to $200,000, we started, we built our first website. We built it very simply. We didn't have a lot of, we had to pre-sell. We were pre-selling. And we built it on, I think it was WooCommerce. We built it on. Okay. Very simple website. We only had one product with a bunch of colors. And and of course the cycling stuff.
Okay, and then your production was the money enough to sort of get your first run of your first production run, and also run the business, and what the post campaign sales look like? Were you getting a trickle of sales
Yes.
coming through as a result of the initial burst from the campaign? Yeah.
Absolutely, because once you get the press, someone might not read. The campaign was 30 days, but your articles about the campaign are there for a very, very long time. So people were still talking about us. We were still on Instagram trying to push. We were still using some influencers to push the product, to push it. So we were selling. So we sold. Our minimum order quantity for the first production was 500 pieces. So we sold the 500 pieces, and then we had to reorder another 500 pieces. And so we used a lot of that money. No, money was really, really tight then, like really tight.
But you eventually made it work. So what was the what was the lead time you gave customers, and what was the lead time the factory gave you, and did it all come to as planned eventually in terms of delivery? Because that's a big problem on Kickstarter.
That is a big problem.
Not every project ever comes to fruition, and hardly anybody gets their money back.
Yeah. So unfortunately, there's a lot of these campaigns that fail, and for the most part is because the campaign part is important, but it's not as important as making sure that you have all your eggs lined up for the post campaign and how your production is going to happen. I was involved in production, so I knew all the pieces that you need to do. And I think it's important, if anybody's going to back a campaign on Kickstarter, you have to understand who these people are. Like, coming up with a concept and getting a prototype, it means nothing if you have no idea of like what production is, the pitfalls of in production, like what happens, delays, how all these pieces come together. We're using, for example, we use sometimes 9 different suppliers to make one watch. One guy makes the movements, one guy makes the hands. In other words, we have all these different pieces. All
in Switzerland. All Swiss.
All in Switzerland, yeah. Some components, like rough components, like blanks, the case blanks, still come from China.
Okay, amazing.
But all precision stuff.
Assembled in Switzerland.
Exactly. All precision components come from Switzerland.
Okay, so how do you still get to that price point? Is it challenging as a company?
It's very challenging, and in fact the Swiss have made it even harder, because that's one of the biggest struggles that we have right now is components, because there is a monopoly in Switzerland, owned by the big conglomerates that own a lot of the big brands that you see out there are owned by one conglomerate. And they make a lot of the components that we need to make our watches, but at the same time, we're not a big threat to them, but they do see us as a competition, and we are taking market share from them.
There's a value chain ownership there. It's like sunglasses, where you look at many sunglasses and it's the same company in Italy. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit different, only because, sunglasses, like one person's making the sunglasses from beginning to end. In this case, I'm cherry picking my suppliers for all the different components, and then I have an assembler that does my assembly. But I will tell you that the reason why we can be profitable at the price point that we are is because we don't have the layers that those other companies have, and they run their operation very differently. Like, I see on your wall it says they're 2X. We have a wall, so that you're e-commerce, and that's where you're focusing. You're focusing like, how much money am I putting out? And how much am I getting back? And we focus a lot on that. Like, we focus a lot on how much money we can get back. But again, like I said, the manufacturers have layers, and that's how they're built. They've been built with these layers for the past century. There's the manufacturer, there's a distributor, there's a retailer, and then there's a customer. And sometimes there might even be 2 distributors within a country. All those people need a piece of the pie. And for us, we just take that all out. Like, it's very, very common. You see today is direct to the consumer.
Yeah.
And our model is much stronger. So we have our brand DNA, and I don't know if you're going to ask this question or not, but I'll get into it. Our brand DNA is about creating these connections.
Yeah.
And with these strong connections, you get very personal information about the people. You know what they like. There's a lot of data that you get from them. whether it's, whether it's different types of emails, and our repeat customer rate is close to 40%.
Wow. For a wristwatch, that's insane.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Most of the people, anybody who buys one of my watches is in the market for another one of our watches.
You're 40% likely to come back again.
Correct.
Insane.
To buy again.
To buy again.
Buy again. Yeah. Whether
over what time frame?
Over what time frame? I would say over a 2-year period.
Wow. Incredible. Okay. So there's the utilities there. I've got the satisfaction from owning and wearing the watch that I want to get another one to replenish that utility, that satisfaction. Amazing.
Right, but that comes from the connections that we create, and these are true, authentic connections that we create.
Yeah.
All the emails that come out of our brand come from me or Esti or a team member or a person. There's no company email. There's no info. Is really for post-sale service. Yeah. It has nothing to do, like when we launch new products. First of all, again, the connections create a lot of feedback. The feedback gives us ideas of what we need to do, what we need to change, how to improve the products. But then also these strong connections, when I say, hey guys, I'm going to be launching this new watch, they jump on it. They want to be part of it. They feel like they're part of the family. They feel like they're part of the brand. They want to be part of our history, and they want to own every single one of our watches. Now, not everybody can afford to own every single one of our watches, but the idea that we're trying to create is that you should want to own every single one of our watches.
Okay. Now we're going to jump into the marketing. I just want to wrap up on crowdfunding, and then we'll jump into the marketing about the connections, because that's what you said, really, really caught my attention. Now, since the Genesis X1, you've done the Genesis X1A. You've done,
that was our first automatic watch.
Okay, fantastic. You've done a GXP51, and I don't know what the other one's called.
The other one was the Rebel.
The Rebel. Okay. How has Kickstarter evolved? One of the campaigns you did raised $1.1 million, another 1.7, another 800,000. Over those experiences with campaign launches. Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Did you know that cloud-hosted e-commerce platforms like Shopify and BigCommerce do not provide automatic backups? Rewind steps in to protect Shopify and BigCommerce stores with automatic backups. Rewind is trusted by over 25,000 stores. Install Rewind and get to test it for free over 7 days. And to extend the 7-day trial to 30 days, head over to rewind.io, their website, and mention 2x e-commerce. Obviously, have you gotten your friends and families involved, or did you just use your base? What should we know about Kickstarter now in 2020?
Yeah, so the first campaign, like I said, we had no idea. We called like greenhorns, total novices, had no idea what we were doing. We were just feeling around. We had, we had some really good luck. And I think the next campaign is where we really got introduced to, okay, so how do we scale this? Okay, so we have a good concept, we have the idea, we have a good following. We knew that our base loved what we were doing. They loved the connections that we were creating. We knew that a lot of the people would want to come back for our second watch. And a lot of the reason for the second watch was based on the feedback that people got on the first watch. They said, okay, we love your watch, but it's a quartz watch. We love automatic watches. You got to make an automatic watch. We don't like it. We want it a little bit smaller. So we took a lot of the feedback. We said, okay, we're going to, we need our base to be there. Because if we get our base to come in, that means we could do 100,000 in the first day. Mm-hmm. If we take, so we basically worked for about, I would say close to a year on this new project, on this new thing. And then we said, okay, so get it. We got our base. Now, how do we go above our base? How do we get more people involved in this? And that's when Facebook ads really started clicking. So, I got introduced to a Facebook marketer that does, his name is Adamus.
Adamus. Okay.
Adamus. Yeah.
Okay.
Super cool guy. I reached out to him. I said, listen, we had a successful campaign. We're about to launch a new campaign. What do we need to do? We have the product down. We have our photography. We know how important photography is. We have the video. Like, what do we need to do to scale this thing? And, he gave us a brief outline of what you need to do. The want, creating those, you have to create like a strong, like, he's the one that introduced us to the idea that you cannot just launch the product and say I'm alive. You have to get the audience warmed up. Like, you need to warm up, or you have to invest in warming up your audience or potential audience, so that you could really blow it up the first day. If you want to blow it up the first day, that means you got to start your marketing and your advertising spend. Like, to us, it's very foreign. Like, we're advertising to like a landing page to just collect emails. Like, yes, we're not going to sell them anything. We're going to give them just a sliver of what we plan on doing. We're telling them it's the next best thing in the watch industry. We're going to revolutionize this. Do you want to be part of it? And he's the one that really introduced us to this format. And we use that same format in all our subsequent campaigns.
Okay. So how long did you need to warm up the audience before you got them, before you gave them that push into Kickstarter? And what kind of email list, or what kind of audience size were you looking to warm up?
Yeah, so the email list was basically, we were trying to figure out. I mean, listen, if you have an unlimited amount of budget, then obviously you could just spend and just collect as many emails as you want. But for us, it was very, very important, besides for collecting the email, is to kind of get them excited about what we're planning on doing them. Like introducing, like, we had I think it was like a 7 or 8 part series email for anybody that signed up, that talked about who we are, a little bit, everything that we're discussing now, like how we launched the brand and what we plan on doing and how we're revolutionizing and how we're gonna blast our way into this watch industry, doing things the new way and stuff like that, and getting them all pumped up and excited. And it was like a 7 part or 8 part series email, and that's what really got the base excited, like got these people excited. Like, it wasn't like, I think it wasn't just collecting emails like, oh, you're in, It was more like, hey, my name is Chaz. I want to introduce myself. I'm a watch freak like you. You love watches. I love watches. I'd love to hear about your collection. Starting already, even before this campaign even started, starting already to create conversations with these people. Yeah. And, and then like last email was like, are you in, But these are authentic. These are really, like, I don't think you can fake your way through these things. The new consumer is way too smart. Like, you really have to be authentic. Like I said, I've loved watches since I was 10-year-old, and it's been my passion. So like, you really have to believe in what you're doing, because people can really sniff you out if you're just like trying to sell garbage,
Yep, makes sense.
So from a time frame perspective, we ran this campaign 4 weeks before the campaign even started. So 1 month. And for us, it was like a huge amount of money. Like, we spent like $10,000 on just capturing emails. Like, we had no sales.
And did you show the products and the campaigns, or how?
Yeah.
Was there a big reveal? So how was a big reveal if you'd already pre-shown the products in the ads?
Yeah. So the idea was not to show everything, because if you show everything, you kind of lose the excitement in it. Yeah. It's sort of like an unveiling. Yeah. And so we if you didn't get my 6th email, you didn't know, you weren't 100% sure, like 100%, but the idea was to keep you engaged throughout this series of emails. And then at some point I would reveal it. I'm like, okay, are you in? What do you think about this? And then like, you get these emails back, I'm in, I can't wait, Chaz. We're going to crush this. This is like team effort here. That was the idea, is how we're going to crush this together.
Amazing. Interesting. Very, very interesting. And then you probably hit your targets within the 3-day time frame, and then you blew up. Would you attribute most of the 7 figures you raised in the other 3 campaigns to this activity, or did this activity get you the momentum to blow up within Kickstarter?
No, I think a lot of the core of these campaigns were how well we did on the pre-launch.
Okay. Makes sense. And then you were more active with press and.
Well, the press, that campaign actually was really interesting, because I woke up one morning and the campaign was somewhere around $800,000. or $700,000. And all of a sudden I woke up in the morning, it was $900,000. We got $200,000 in sales overnight. And that's because some big financial website in Sweden, out of all places, picked us up and had us on the homepage saying this company, it was a story like saying, and then all of a sudden we had $200,000 in sales from Sweden. And once we hit $200,000, our goal was like, how do we get to $1 million? We got to get to $1 million, because the $1 million was the number to say, if you could say you're $1 million Kickstarter campaign, you're probably in the top, 1% or 2% of the total campaigns that have hit $1 million. So that was, I wasn't 100% sure we were going to hit $1 million. We were doing great. The pre-launch was great. People were excited about the product. It was our first automatic watch. The price was incredible. Like we literally gave the thing away. Wow. I don't want to say gave it away because, we again, like it's important, that when we're selling a product, we're not just selling the product like, here's the product. We provide a lot of after sales service. We provide a lot of things, like a car needs service. We need watch service. Like you need to have money. And I would tell everybody who's running a campaign that if you think that you're going to run a campaign and not make any profit on the campaign, it's going to fail. Even if you have all your other eggs in place, you need to make sure there's enough profit. You need to make sure that your value proposition is strong enough that you could make a profit, because you cannot run these campaigns without making money. If you run them without making money, they're going to fail.
Yeah. So you made a profit. Okay. Pretty solid information on the crowdfunding, side of things. Now let's talk about marketing and your concept of creating connections. So what would you say is the core of marketing a direct-to-consumer brand in 2020 and, going forward over the next decade?
As far as like one piece of advice, or?
So you touched upon you touched upon the concept of creating deep connections. I really like you to sort of unpick, what connections are, what are connections, and, how does it, how do you create these connections?
Sure. So, connections is another word for relationships.
Yeah.
So the idea is how to create these strong connections within a relationship. Every brand has a relationship with the people that buy their product, but the question is, how do you create these strong connections with the people that wear your product? Sometimes you buy a product and your product breaks. You now have a relationship with the brand for not a good reason, for a negative reason.
Yeah.
So the idea for us was, in all the language that we use, the style of communication that we use is very personal. It's on a first name basis. We focus on, how are you, John? How you doing? How's everything? Or our little tidbits of, let's say, my personal life, or what's going on in my personal life. Hey, I just went camping. How's your weekend going? Da, 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 da. Like people, at least in my category, besides, they want to understand like who I am, what I'm doing, and I want to understand what they're doing. I want to understand what tickles them, what gets them going. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of that language that we use in the communication, the style of communication is emphasizes on how we can create a bond. And, internally we talk about, how a customer is not a customer. Like we say, we have a tagline here on the wall that says, customer is a dirty word. What's a customer? A customer just means that if someone's giving you money for exchange of a product, but we're not exchanging money for product. We're not doing that. We're going beyond that. We're creating relationships, and it just so happens to be that we both. I'm gonna turn that off. We both have an affinity to a similar product. Like I love watches, and you love watches, and I'm filling a want that you have, and you guys are giving us the opportunity to create products that I love, that I love to wear, enjoy every day. So I'm living my dream by creating the products, and you guys are, helping me do that. At the same time, I'm able to provide something that's really unique and interesting for you guys.
What is your most effective communication channel?
I would say email. I would say email is number one. And now SMS is becoming quite strong for us.
Okay. So what platforms do you use to manage email and SMS?
So our email, I don't want to use the word blast because we don't do blast. We use, yeah. So we don't do any blast. So we have a highly segmented our email list is very, very segmented. Like we have like groups, I think we have up to like 6 or 7 different groups. So let's say our email list is, let's say, over 150,000 people that have subscribed to our email list.
Okay. All right. Okay.
But I would say maybe only 90,000 actually we communicate with.
We're engaged. Okay.
I'm engaged with. And we look at email as more of a conversation. So we don't look at it as like, hey, here's what I have to say. What do you take it or leave it. It's more of like a conversation. So we use a lot of metrics to kind of figure out, and we use our platform. We use this Klaviyo. I'm sure you heard of it.
Yep. Sponsors of this podcast.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. They're awesome people. I mean, we got on board like almost 3 years ago already. When they were early on, we were looking for a platform. We were looking for something that would fit the brand and how we plan on doing things. And they were a great fit because we had moved to Shopify, and their connection with Shopify is superb. And so I would say email is number one, but SMS is becoming quite strong for us. For example, post sale, let's say, for example, someone that buys a product from us, they'll automatically get a text from me, which we can answer, and I answer all the time, by the way.
Whoa, okay.
I'm highly engaged with a lot of the people that buy our products, and I know a lot of people, like, they call and I answer the phone, like you see my phone ringing. That was a regular fan, no customer. That was a fan calling. Yeah. And I'll pick up the phone. Like if it rings twice, I'll just pick up the phone in case someone else is busy here. And that's because I love, part of my day, I would say probably about 40% of my day is really communicating with people that buy and wear our products. That's really important for me, because that unfiltered feedback that I get from the people that buy our products is so important for the organic growth of our brand. So SMS is doing really, really good, because again, when people reply to emails, even though like our emails come like very personal, like they have my signature on the bottom and they come from my email address, it's still, replying to email, they're not 100% sure, but with an SMS, they feel like they are talking to me, or they're talking to somebody, and they're getting a response right away.
Where do you collect mobile numbers, cell numbers from? Do you have like, pop-ups on the site, or would it be checkouts where they enter their cell phone numbers?
Yeah. So obviously with checkout, that's easy because, we start the conversation immediately. So, SMS you have to be a little careful with, because not everybody feels comfortable getting text messages from a brand, even though they might be close with the brand. So let's say, for example, like post sale, like I said, we have an automated message that goes out. It comes from me, but it is automated. That says, hey, thank you for your purchase. I'm so stoked you're gonna get your watch. I can't wait. Da da da. By the way, here's your order number, just in case you didn't get the email or whatever. And a lot of people respond, oh, cool, Chaz, I can't wait to get my watch. Da da da. And then that's a conversation. So if they ever get another text message, it's not weird, because we've already started this conversation. We do collect some with pop-ups. I'm not a big fan of pop-ups. I feel like it interferes a lot with the website. It cheapens it a little bit slightly. They are effective, but that's a big challenge for us, to try to figure out how to collect more data, more touch points for the people that love our product without being intrusive.
Super interesting. So amongst this segment, how do you automate the communication with customers and remain authentic and true to self?
Well, segmentation is a huge part of it. Like understanding where the conversation is. Like, I say hi to you, you say, back to me, and then our relationship is nurtured. At some point, if you lose interest in our conversation, I can't continue that conversation as if you haven't fallen off. Okay. Or, then I have to change my tone cannot stay the same. The tone has to be a little bit different, because now I'm trying to get you back into the conversation to talk. If you stop opening my emails and you stop visiting my website, that's a sure sign that you've fallen off. Even if you've purchased or haven't purchased, our relationship is changing. Our connection is moving in different directions. Some are getting stronger and some are getting weaker. And our goal is the whole time is to re-engage those people, find, what they're interested in and why. And we actually have, a big part, we actually have a girl that's working with me right now, is to figure out how to segment those different the different areas of where people are. Like, we use sort of like these little boxes that say, I'm a high roller, like I'll buy every single watch you have. I'm a one-time buyer. I'm a this, trying to figure out these relationships. Again, we're trying to scale this. So we have to use technology and data to figure out where these relationships are and how to nurture them.
So you have email flows for each of these segments, I would think. Of course. Okay, yeah. Fantastic.
Email flows, and the conversation's different, and someone who's disengaged, won't get like, hey, we're doing a sample sale now, like the relationships beyond that, like we have to bring them back. We have to figure out like what it is. Okay. Luckily, like I said, we have a really good response rate and customer repeat rate. So, we're doing a lot, but it is something we work on all the time.
Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Klaviyo is a growth marketing platform that powers over 25,000 online businesses. Klaviyo understands every single customer interaction and empowers brands to create more personalized marketing moments. Listen, analyze, and act on your customer data with Klaviyo. Visit klaviyo.com/2x. Do members of this segment or customers know themselves as a community? Do you have any community, any LIV Watches community?
That's something we're working on now. Actually, I think it's really, really important to have this because we have a huge audience of people that like our watches, but we haven't figured out yet. Like we started a Facebook group, and then if you're a LIV owner, we call it a LIV owner circle. Mm-hmm. And if you're an owner, you're allowed. Like it's a private sort of like a Facebook group. So we're starting that Facebook group. We are doing within that LIV owner circle. Well, I'll give you another example about LIV owner circle and how we segment. Like for example, when we launch a product, if you're not an owner of one of our watches, you'll be like second or third to be notified. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So we have like when we do releases of new product, people that have already invested in our brand, we have great connections with, they will get first dibs on all new products that we launch.
Yeah, which is very, very important.
Very important because those are the people that have invested in our brand, and so they we can't treat. Listen, we love everybody. We want everybody to be an owner, but LIV owners are always true to heart. Because they're the ones that actually invested in the brand.
Super interesting. Okay. Other question I have is in regards to your tech stack. Your tech stack. Obviously, you're running on Shopify now. You have Klaviyo. Are there any very important technology solutions you rely on, or that you think you cannot sort of live without at the moment?
Yeah, there's another platform that we use that I absolutely love and adore. It's called Front App.
Okay.
It's sort of like our hub, our communication hub. So email, chat, SMS, WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, everything comes in there. And that's how we communicate. And it sort of ties all the people together so we can see all the conversations that people are having. Everybody in the team can see all the conversations they're having. So if someone contacts us with Facebook, because again, the people are using different mediums to contact us, it's important for us to understand where that person is at that moment. And by having everything feed into this one system, it allows us to communicate better. So like if someone jumps in on a conversation, they'll already know that, okay, this person contacted us on Twitter. This person, you'll be able to bring their whole profile together.
Okay. And then what about push notifications? I just signed up to your push notifications on site. How do you use them for communication?
Yeah, so it's really just a one-way communication because no one can really respond to a push notification. So we usually, like for product launches or like back in stock for our top selling products, if they go out of stock, we'll do like a lot of push notifications for that. But it's mostly for like product release and like new blogs or a podcast or somewhere we're featured or something we find some of our subscribers might be interested in.
Okay. My final question has got to do with where you are as a business now. Are you a 7-figure business? Are you a 8-figure business? Where are you?
Yeah, we're a 7-figure business.
Awesome. Okay. Okay.
And again, like a lot of people talk about like, where you are from a number perspective. And for us, what the number that we see, obviously we want to grow, we want to scale the business, but for us, it's very important to scale, but at the same time, try to figure out how to keep, and we understand there's going to be some loss in customer repeat, like what people are going to buy again and again and again, as your base grows, that number is going to come down, but our goal is to try to keep that as high as possible.
Yeah. And I like the fact that I think you need to just explain to me why you refer to yourselves as a micro brand, craft and precision. Has that got to do with the appeal of watch enthusiasts that, want that uniqueness, they want that, craftsmanship, from with history and with attention to detail? Why do you call yourself a micro brand?
Yeah. So it's really interesting because the word micro brand, and we've had this discussion internally also, like the word micro, what does that entail? What does it mean? Like at what point are you not micro anymore? But I think, whatever terminology you want to use, the bottom line is that for us is that we're a small operation in the sense that we don't produce a ton of watches. Our production is not huge. We sell, crafted, unique products. It's more like a personal, like I want to say like an artisan style. So from a product perspective, we do a lot of one-off products that, no one will ever see again. And again, a lot of the people that buy our watches are buying them because they want that unique thing, and they want to be able to go to a coffee shop with their buddies, and their buddies should recognize that they're wearing something different. Especially, I'm sure their buddies are also into watches, because watch geeks hang out with watch geeks. So, they're all trying to up their friends, and not going to up their friends with another Rolex because they've seen them all already. Yeah. I think we've had this conversation.
That was my exact appeal to LIV Watches when I came across and engaged with the brand. And that's why I decided to follow, the brand on Instagram. That's why I'm going to buy one anyway. We'll talk about it.
You have to.
Yeah, I will.
And by the way, when you buy one of our watches, and it's something that's interesting, because I always felt that, the transaction receipt, like you finally, like, could you imagine, like, if you think of it in terms of, we're dating, I don't use the word dating, but I'm saying you're developing this relationship, and someone finally pulls the trigger and buys one of our beautiful watches, and they just get a transactional email, like a common transactional email. I always felt that was like the weirdest thing. Like, what do you mean? Like, nobody's excited that I just took the plunge, that I bought one of your watches. And if you buy one of our watches, you will see the email that you got. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's not your traditional transactional email. Okay. I promise you, it's in the LIV format of, hey guy, hey, you'll see it. I don't want to.
You'll get me excited now. Chaz.
It's not your common, like, it won't be your typical Shopify transactional email. And I think that's important because, someone's taken the plunge and invested in your product. Not just money, but emotionally, again, it's not a need product, it's a want product. So they had to have developed a want to make it. They finally did it. Transactional email, very important for you guys. Think about it.
Before we jump into the lightning round, I want you to just cover the pathway from a fan of the brand to becoming an ambassador of the brand and finally become an advocate of the brand. We discussed this, prior to this interview. Could you just explain how that journey occurs and how you put, your customers into these pockets?
Yeah. So, I think it's like every other relationship. I think it has to be nurtured. We use, obviously, technology to figure out ways to nurture those relationships, how to develop, how to strengthen those relationships. But we look at anybody, for us, customers, a dirty word. So anybody who likes our products or even likes something on Instagram is considered like a fan. Like, you wouldn't like my product if you weren't a fan, right? Yeah. I'm not going to call you a customer. You're not a customer. You're a fan. So our idea is how to transition a person from a fan to an ambassador to an advocate. And you might say advocate and ambassador is almost the same, but advocate is really an ambassador is like someone that's going to say, oh, wow, it's a great watch. I think you guys should get it. An advocate will mean, like, if someone says, oh, that's really, you like that? Like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. This is the best thing since sliced bread. Like, they will go out of their way to make sure that they, it's a stronger segment of an ambassador. So that's what our goal. Our goal is, how do we transition? And again, we use a lot of email communication, a lot of chat. If you go on our chat, it's very friendly. It's very fast. Nobody likes to wait for anything these days, or I don't think anybody ever wanted to wait for anything anyways. But, the whole style of the communication is all with the goal of moving that person within the advocate. So if you're a fan, and again, one of the things that we look at the whole time is figuring out our attribution. So like, a lot of companies, or a lot of brands, they're like, okay, you need like a 7-day attribution. We use software that will tell us, what the journey of that person was from like when they liked something on Instagram to when they actually made the purchase. And sometimes we've seen it take over a year.
What do you use? What software do you use for that?
We're using a thing called Wicked Reports.
Okay. Awesome.
And what that does, that pulls in like on-site data, opening of emails, all that stuff. And it tries to figure out exactly what the journey was, what it took for that, what it took for that purchase, what relationship. And then we can kind of figure out like what works and what doesn't work. And also from an attribution perspective, like, if somebody, let's say, came into a Facebook ad, signed up to our email, and then was on our email list, and then visited another website and got hit up with a display ad. There's so many different touch points. Everybody wants to take credit for it. So you want to give everybody, the last person who made the purchase, like, Google display ads is saying, I'm the one that converted. But really that person came through an email, signed up for an SMS, got an SMS link, came to an article that I read. You know what I'm saying? There's a journey here.
There's a journey. Yeah.
And so we want to understand that journey.
I love what you talk about, the advocates, especially. And if you get more advocates, then your marketing spend is just going to keep going down, or your CPA is going to come down, because there's nothing like word of mouth, really. Yeah.
Because if you said, if you want to scale, you have to be able to spend more money to reach people. Yeah. And while you want to be profitable on the first purchase, if you're thinking ahead and you're confident enough in your product and in your systems to develop these strong relationships, then you don't mind necessarily not making a lot of money on your first purchase, because you just know and you're confident that you will make it up in subsequent purchases.
That makes sense. Okay. I've probably taken a lot of your time, mate. Before I let you go, I think we need to go through the lightning round, which is a segment of this podcast where I ask you a question, and if you could answer with a single sentence, it would be brilliant.
It will not be a single sentence.
Let's try. Okay. What advice would you give to yourself 5 years ago?
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Awesome. Okay. Are you a morning person?
I am.
Okay, what's your morning routine?
Because I like cycling.
Okay, because you like cycling. Okay, awesome. Most people I know
I'm actually forced to be a morning person because my group ride leaves so early.
Awesome. Most people I know who are, in fact, all people I know who are cyclists who are into cycling are super fit individuals. Everybody I know. Okay, cool. Cheers. Do you have a morning? What are the 2 things you can't live without?
Is that, that's a tricky one. Is it a system?
No, it's just 2 things. It could be coffee. It could be
yes.
Books, it could be
coffee. Yes. Coffee would be number 1, and number 2, I don't know. It's a tough one. My family.
Awesome. Okay. What's been your best mistake to date? By that I mean a setback that's giving you the biggest feedback.
A setback that has given us the most feedback. A setback. There's been a bunch of little setbacks, and I think everybody's going to go through them. But I will tell you one thing, and I heard this from somebody, and I think it's really, really important. Yeah. Forget goals. Think about systems.
Okay. Well, that's a good one.
If you think about systems, you will have your goals will come through.
Okay. All right. Systematic thinking. Okay. And finally, what book are you currently reading?
I'm not reading any books.
Okay. All right. Cool.
But I do listen to podcasts.
Okay. What are your top 3 podcasts?
Oh, I can't give you 3. I can give you one.
One. What's your one?
One. Reid Hoffman.
Reid Hoffman. Okay. Yeah, I know.
Scale. Masters of Scale.
Okay. Masters of Scale. Okay. Chaz, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. For those who, want to find out more about LIV Watches, about you, LIV Watches, livewatches.com. Are you on social media at all?
Sure. Absolutely.
How best can they,
Yes. Sure. So all our handles are basically at LIV Watches. Okay. So for example, Instagram at LIV Watches, Facebook at LIV Watches, Twitter at LIV Watches. And of course, you can visit us at livewatches.com. We're actually going back on Kickstarter.
Oh, fantastic. When?
Yeah. We're going back on Kickstarter, hopefully at the end of September.
Okay. I will set an alert.
Yes.
And I think that's where I'm going to make well, if I do that, then I won't get that email. So I think I'll just buy from your website. But thank you so much, Chaz. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. It was great talking to you. And guys, remember, believe in what you're doing and never stop.
Fantastic. Cheers.
Take it easy.